The movie opens with an emergency news report shocks the residents of Littletown. Their newly elected mayor, Trina Grant, has died in a tragic car accident. The entire town is heartbroken because Trina had earned everyone's trust after leading the fight against a freeway expansion that would have divided Littletown and damaged its local businesses and small-town charm. Her biggest political rival, John Conley, had supported the project from the start. Now, with Trina gone, nothing seems to stand in the way of his plan. 1 year later, the difference is impossible to ignore. The cheerful town has become almost unrecognizable. Trash piles up along the streets. Storefronts display closed signs. Businesses are disappearing, jobs are scarce, and families are leaving one after another. Ironically, all of this sits beneath the welcome sign, proudly reading, "Welcome to Littleton." John Conley is now the mayor. One of those residents is a young boy named Emilio. Instead of going home, Emilio heads toward the local church. Inside the attic lives Jason Grant, Trina's widowed husband. Ever since losing his wife, Jason has isolated himself from the rest of the town. Unable to return to the home they once shared, he's been living quietly in the church attic after the pastor allowed him to stay there. Emilio visits him from time to time. Today, he brings candles, a small cake, and a few new cartoon drawings he's made. Jason flips through them and laughs. The sketches include funny versions of both himself and Mayor Conley. Impressed by the boy's talent, Jason encourages him to keep drawing. Later, while cleaning the attic, Jason discovers something unusual hidden away, an incredibly detailed model of Littletown. At first it looks like an ordinary display, but the closer he examines it, the stranger it becomes. Every road, every building, even tiny cracks in the ground have been recreated with unbelievable precision. Then he notices a hidden mechanical system underneath. Carefully, he turns it on. Gears begin rotating. Tiny lights appear inside the miniature buildings. Within seconds, the entire model seems to come alive. Jason watches in amazement until something catches his eye. Inside the miniature church attic, there's a tiny version of himself, standing exactly where he is, right here. Something feels very off. Trying to understand what he's seeing, Jason sprays a little water onto the attic window. Moments later, he notices a light drizzle beginning outside. Confused, he sprays more water. Almost instantly, the rain outside becomes heavier. Still unable to believe it, Jason reaches his hand outside, realizing that whatever happens to the model somehow affects the real town. Later that day, Jason sits inside the local restaurant, quietly listening as customers discuss the strange weather. Everyone agrees it was unusual because the rain appeared over only one small part of town. The restaurant owner warmly welcomes Jason. She mentions that road construction has driven away customers, making business harder than ever. Even so, she kindly serves him the coffee. At the same time, she tells Emilio to repaint the outside of the restaurant. With his usual sarcastic sense of humor, Emilio jokes that a fresh coat of paint will surely solve all of their problems. Jason silently writes that task down in his notebook. That night, back in the attic, he carefully paints the miniature version of the restaurant using nail polish. The next morning, he casually walks through town as though nothing happened, but a crowd has already gathered outside the restaurant. Everyone is staring in disbelief. The building has been freshly painted overnight. Emilio quickly insists he had nothing to do with it. His mother isn't happy at first. Since the building belongs to the mayor, repainting it without permission could create trouble. Jason calmly looks at the new color and smiles. He says it actually brightens up the street. After taking another look, Emilio's mother reluctantly agrees. For the first time in a long while, the neighborhood feels just a little less gloomy. The following morning, Jason leaves the church and notices one of Mayor Conley's campaign posters attached to the fence. Without thinking much about it, he pulls it down and tosses it aside. Suddenly, he hears an elderly woman cry out. A large pothole in the street has caused her to twist her ankle. Jason helps her up, while several older residents begin venting their frustrations. They complain about the damaged roads, neglected neighborhoods, and countless problems the town has been ignoring for years. Then someone points toward the mayor's suggestion box. According to them, it hasn't been checked in ages. Jason doesn't say a word. He already knows exactly what he's going to do. That night, he brings the suggestion box back to the attic. Using the mysterious town model, he begins fixing every complaint one by one. Potholes disappear. Trash is cleaned up. Roads become smooth again. Even a hungry stray dog suddenly finds a bone waiting for it. The next morning, everywhere he goes, people are smiling. Residents can't believe how many improvements appeared overnight. For the first time in months, Hope is starting to return. When Jason enters the restaurant, he finds Mayor Conley criticizing Emilio and his mother over the new paint job because he never approved it. Jason steps into the conversation. With only a few carefully chosen words, he reminds Conley about Trina. The mention of her immediately makes the mayor uncomfortable. A little later, Jason visits a local shop where customers excitedly discuss all the recent improvements around town. Some even say there's finally no reason to leave Little Town anymore. Everything seems to be getting better. Jason smiles and comments that perhaps the town has found its own guardian angel. One customer immediately replies that the real credit belongs to Mayor Conley. Surely all these improvements are his doing, and he deserves another term as mayor. Jason doesn't hide his disagreement. He points out that this wouldn't actually be a re-election. Trina passed away before completing her term. Conley wasn't elected by the people afterward. He simply inherited the position. A nearby woman responds that none of that matters if the mayor is doing a good job today. That night, he returns to the mysterious model once again, and this time, his next change will transform the entire town. Another late night in the church attic. Jason carefully adds one more feature to the miniature town, a huge glowing welcome sign that proudly reads, Littleton. By the next morning, cars line up outside the gas station. The restaurant parking lot is packed. Businesses are busy again. And for the first time in a long while, the streets are full of life. The mood across Little Town has completely changed. Even Sunday service is overflowing with people. Pastor Nikki happily welcomes faces she hasn't seen in a long time and tells everyone they're gathered to celebrate the incredible changes that have brought their town back to life. She admits she has no idea who this mysterious helper is, but whoever it may be deserves everyone's gratitude. Several people immediately shout that it must have been Mayor Conley. Even Conley's wife quietly asks her husband if he's really responsible. He simply shrugs. Pastor Nikki continues, saying that this unknown person has taken responsibility for the entire community. They've repaired roads, cleaned the streets, refreshed old buildings, and somehow brought visitors back to town. Before long, more and more people begin thanking Conley. Jason watches the entire scene, and it's clear he doesn't appreciate someone else taking credit. That night, he decides the mayor needs a lesson. On the miniature version of Conley's sports car, Jason gently places a tiny stone on the roof, but the mysterious model reacts in a way he never expected. Instead of something small, a massive object suddenly drops from the sky in the real world. The following morning, a loud scream echoes through the center of town. People rush over and stand there in complete disbelief. Conley refuses to believe it was simply an accident. He's convinced someone in town is deliberately targeting him. As he looks around, he notices Emilio laughing nearby. Angrily, Conley grabs the boy's sketchbook. Inside, he finds a drawing showing a stone resting on top of a car. Conley immediately accuses Emilio of being behind everything. Emilio's mother quickly steps in, demanding actual proof instead of accusations. The townspeople support her, and one by one, they begin walking away. Realizing he's losing everyone's confidence, Conley delivers an emotional speech about his dedication to the town. Little by little, he manages to regain their trust. Later, Jason spots Conley walking alone. Still frustrated, he decides to scare him one more time. Back in the attic, Jason carefully places a large spider onto the miniature streets. That same night, Emilio suddenly wakes after hearing heavy footsteps outside. At almost the same moment, Conley hears those same footsteps. Curious, he looks up, only to freeze as the gigantic creature slowly approaches him. He stumbles backward in complete panic. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the spider rises into the sky and disappears without a trace. The next morning, Conley walks with Pastor Nikki, insisting that someone keeps testing his faith and trying to make him look foolish. Later that evening, Jason decides to improve the town even further. He adds extra lights, new signs, and additional bulbs across the miniature streets. But this time, he pushes the model too far. The tiny electrical system can't handle the extra load. Instantly, the entire town loses power. Darkness spreads everywhere. That night, residents gather inside the church, holding candles as they demand answers. Conley explains that the town's power plant has failed after the sudden increase in electrical demand. The repairs can be made, but they could take weeks. One elderly woman tearfully explains that her oxygen equipment depends on electricity. Others quickly join in, insisting insisting the problem must be solved immediately. Conley admits he doesn't know who caused it. The crowd no longer believes him. People begin moving toward him in anger. He quickly escapes outside. Once again, he spots Emilio drawing. Conley snatches the sketchbook from his hands. This time, he finds a drawing of the giant welcome sign. Holding it up for everyone to see, Conley claims the boy is responsible. According to him, Emilio always draws events before they happen. He insists it must be some kind of strange magic. The crowd refuses to believe such a story. Instead, they turn their frustration toward the mayor. Before things get any worse, Jason suddenly steps forward. He admits everything. He explains that he never wanted to hurt anyone. His only goal was to help the town and the people who still believed in it. Unfortunately, not every decision turned out the way he intended. The townspeople ask him to prove it. Jason leads everyone to the church attic. Using the mysterious model, he demonstrates its incredible abilities with his own hands. The room falls completely silent. Then Jason slowly removes his wedding ring. He places it beside a photograph of Trina. With deep regret, he says he's let her down. But before anyone has time to react, Mayor Conley arrives with several others and finally discovers the model's secret. Unlike Jason, Conley immediately sees endless possibilities. He says he'll never allow that to happen. A struggle breaks out between the two men. During the chaos, the miniature town falls to the floor. At that exact moment, the real little town suffers the same destruction. Then Jason notices something remarkable. His oversized wedding ring now rests in the middle of the street. Looking at it, he realizes they already have exactly what they need to rebuild. Nearby, reporters rush in with breaking news. They announce the discovery of what appears to be the largest gold object